Hello, friends, and welcome to Dharma Talk Tuesday. We are back in the Dharma Talk Tuesday chair, and hopefully technology works for us this week. I'm really excited about today's topic because it's one of those conversations that's just really freaking real. And I want to talk to you about what I do when things get a little crazy. And I think a really important point for me to land here is that it's not a question of if things get crazy, it's a question of when things get crazy. And I really believe that if you hear some background noise, my dog is eating a water bottle right now. It's literally his favorite toy in the entire world other than cardboard boxes. So it's keeping him occupied, and I apologize for the background noise. So if you feel that things don't get crazy for you on occasion, then that actually tells me, and I don't say this in a judgmental way, I say this in a way of knowing my audience. If you feel like, oh, I got everything under control, things never get crazy, I'm always like, I'm even keel, I'm good to go. What that tells me is that you are living a very small life, and that you get to expand your vision, you get to think bigger, and stretch yourself outside your comfort zone. And so again, it's not a question of if things get crazy, it's a question of when. So as you're hopping on right now, I would love for you to say hello, say where you're tuning in from, and maybe you can give me a 1 in the box if you can relate, if you've had a time in the recent past or even at some point in history where it's like, oh, things got crazy, and maybe you had some tools, maybe you had some go-tos to support you to get through it and get to the other side. And maybe you didn't, and it was just a shit show, right? It's like we're all just doing the best we can with what we have. And so what my intention today is to give you some tools and to share with you exactly what I do, exactly the process that I do. Because again, it's not a question of if things get crazy, things do get crazy. They get crazy all the time with me because that's just a function of having a big vision and a big life. So I'm not going to lie to you and say I've got shit under control all the time. I definitely don't. And so instead of like being inauthentic, I'm just going to be real and tell you what I do so that you can benefit from those learnings and really like not make the same mistakes I did. Like, let's make better mistakes. You know what I mean? As we all grow and support each other. So if you know anyone who this conversation would benefit, definitely share it with them. Hit the share button on this, like the share button at the bottom, and share it on your page, and or tag people below who you feel this conversation would really benefit, who are entrepreneurs, who are up to big things, and who could benefit from learning some tools that could really, really, really support them as they're growing and doing awesome stuff in the world. Sound good? Awesome. Okay, so I want to start with some of the context I was just setting a minute ago, which is don't wish things were easier. Wish that you were better. Don't wish things were easier. Use it as an opportunity for you to get better. That's a quote from Jim Rohn. And I love that so much because when people are trying to do everything in their life out of their comfort zone, like our ego really wants us to do, we really don't grow. We stop growing. We stop seeing new possibilities. We stop stepping into new possibilities. You know, it's when you do something new that you've never done before and you do it, maybe not even well, but you do it. That's where the confidence grows. Like, that's the secret to confidence. And so having tools, knowing that no matter what comes at you, as you are stepping into those new unknown areas and, you know, you're not really sure if you can do it or if you can do it well, is supportive. Is it not? Give me a 2 in the box if you feel that having tools to give you the confidence to at least know that you have something to fall back on and to like anchor you as you're going through something new and unknown, if that would be supportive for you. Give me a 2 in the box in the comment section. It's definitely been supportive for me. And so I want to share with you today the 3 things that I always do that like when I'm stretching into something new, it affects my relationships. It affects my well-being. It affects my revenue. Like, all of this stuff is in constant flux as I'm growing and expanding. And so it's really comforting for me to know that there are 3 things I can do always, no matter what. And I do them. When shit hits the fan, I go back to my 3 fundamentals. I call them the 3 pillars of manifestation. And I go back to them and I use them. And I'm going to share with you what those are now. And I've got my notes. And before I do that, I'm going to share with you what not to do. Because this is really important. Because I think that I need to highlight it. Because way too often I see people doing the things I'm about to tell you to do without even realize they're doing them. And then somehow expecting transformational empowering results to happen for them. And then when they don't, they wonder why. And so if you have, as I'm sharing with you what I'm about to share, and if you have an attitude of, well, duh, I already knew that, examine it a little bit more closely, because if you have anything but exceptional, extraordinary results in every single area of your life, chances are you're doing one of the things that I'm about to share with you not to do. And I can tell you from experience, I've shifted and transformed from someone who used to do every single one of the things I am about to share with you. So I'm going to share this first, and then I'm going to share the 3 tools. Sound good? Okay. Here are the things not to do when shit hits the fan. The first thing is to react. The first thing is to go to your email box or to your text message thread and start sending emails and messages to the people involved and reacting. I used to do this to a fault. In my relationship, I used to do it. Even my business coach used to call me out on it. She was like, this is not leadership. You got to stop doing this. And she was absolutely right. Because if you're reactive, then you're actually diminishing the trust that people around you can have in you. And even if you feel right about your emotions or what you're experiencing, instead of reacting right away and sending messages and sending emails and posting on people's walls and sending Facebook messages and responding very immediately like that, take a moment to pause and breathe and get intentional and ask yourself a really important question, which is, what's my intention in sending this message? What do I want to cause? What do I want to create? How do I want this person to experience me? There have been times in my relationship with Matt where I've really regretted saying certain things, not just with him, but with a lot of other humans. But, your romantic relationships tend to get the brunt of you, you know what I'm saying? And so there have been times where I've said things to him in response, if I've been tired or if I was hungry or whatever, and I would think about what I said and I would think to myself, I really regret saying that. That was not a nice thing to say. That was about me trying to be right. That was about, that was definitely ego. That was not transformational at all. And then I turn around and apologize, but you can only apologize so many times before a person says, I don't trust you. I don't really want you in my life. And that happened with us. We went through a period where we broke up because understandably, a person doesn't want to receive that kind of energy all the time. And that was a big learning for me. And so, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you find yourself as kind of a reactive person, my coaching and my suggestion is to really look at that and ask yourself, how do I want to show up for these relationships? And how do I want the other person to experience me? How do I want them to feel? Is there a possibility to communicate and get my needs met and be respectful and patient and gentle in my communication, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, along a similar thread, is don't blame, don't point fingers. If shit's hitting the fan, blaming and pointing fingers is literally being a victim. Even if you think you're right, even if you think you're right about your circumstances or the situation, you're either being a victim or you're being responsible. There is no gray area. And so you have to ask yourself in your communication, am I being responsible or am I being a victim? And I know that's a very bold thing to say, but if you're watching this and if you're committed to being a force of empowerment and transformation and love in the world, then there is no other way to think. Either you're being a victim or you're being responsible. Again, even if the circumstances, there's crazy circumstances that people can point to, and they do, and someone watching this probably will say something like, but what about, and then they'll fill in the blank with some very intense, traumatizing situation. And I'm not going to open that box right now in this live, but if you are going to go there with yourself, or or with me, I just want to say, yes, even in those circumstances, I am going to boldly say, even in those circumstances. And I know that triggers the shit out of some people, but I've learned in my experience that, there's really no right or wrong in life. And if I want to be an effective manifester, it's really important that I come from that place of empowerment, and the place of empowerment is responsibility. I cause and create 100% of what's happening in my life. So if something's hitting the fan, I always ask myself first, how did I cause and create this? How am I source? How am I responsible? And I act accordingly, and I communicate accordingly. And my clients and my friends and my family will tell you that I'm always the first to say, I acknowledge the breakdown. I acknowledge my role in this. I am always the first to say that. Even if I think I'm right about X, Y, or Z thing that the other person did, I'm always the first to acknowledge my role and responsibility in something, because that's what leaders do. That's what a Dharma queen does. The second thing not to do is to get dramatic and to say things like always and never. If you're saying the phrase always and never in your communication, you're being dramatic. And the truth is, it's probably not always. It's probably not never. There's probably some in-between gray area. And so that's like a language indicator to help you identify if you're being like a dramatic victim. And I'm using these words really freaking boldly right now, because sometimes when shit is hitting the fan, you need to hear this kind of communication. And I know I have, and I'm blessed with amazing, powerful, bold people in my corner who are really strong stand, who've assisted in my transformation to be able to really live and have the happiness and peace and neutrality and gentleness and spaciousness that I have in my life right now, while growing a business that's growing very quickly and making the difference that I desire to make in the world, right? Moving right along. Another thing you don't want to do if things are getting a little crazy and shit is hitting the fan, you don't want to stop the forward movement. You don't want to put things on pause. You actually want to keep the things going and identify solutions instead of hitting the stop button. So Tim Ferriss, he famously once said, maybe it wasn't Tim Ferriss, maybe he was quoting somebody else. But anyway, there's a really great phrase, which is, the person who solves the most problems gets to make the most money. Or in other words, the more problems you're solving, the more money you get to make. All entrepreneurship is solving problems. And so if you want to make more money, see how many more problems you can solve. So instead of encountering a problem or a challenge or an obstacle and saying, oh, I guess it's a sign that things are not working out, which I hear often in the spiritual community, what I invite you to do instead is say, what are 5 solutions that can move this situation forward? And do it in that way of like peaceful neutrality. I think one of the fastest ways to repel money and clients is to get reactive and get into scarcity and do all of these things that I've listed so far, because that puts you in this vibration and frequency of shame and guilt of yourself and others, and that's a low frequency that money is not attracted to. And so instead of like putting the brakes on, go into solution mode. What are some solutions? What are 5 solutions that we can create here to keep moving this thing forward? Whatever it is. The next thing you don't want to do is stop visioning. You don't want to stop visioning. You don't want to stop focusing on the vision. So in other words, you want to keep focusing on the vision, because the vision is always the answer in any given situation. In any given situation, the vision is always the answer. If someone comes to me and says, I need advice about something, the first thing I always ask is, well, what's your vision? What is it that you want? Because if you go right into the mechanism of the how, I've learned the hard way that can become very messy and confusing and create a lot of misunderstanding. So if you first get clear on the vision for yourself and for the other person, then it allows you to be on the same page and to be in that vibration of solution. You can't solve a problem in the same consciousness that it was created. And so putting yourself in the vision, putting yourself in the solution-oriented action allows you to move things forward and get to the other side, back into the light, back into the neutrality, back into the peace and the spaciousness, and out of the shit hitting the fan type of frantic, crazy energy, right? And the final thing I'll say about what not to do before I go into the 3 things to do, the 3 tools that I use, is very rarely is the thing that, when it comes to a moment where the shit is hitting the fan, very rarely is it about the thing that you think it's about. Very rarely is it about the thing that you think it's about. So, for example, I had my team meeting today. I meet with my team, my Maya team, every week, Money Alignment Yoga Academy with my coaches. And we were talking about one of our students and who just had like a huge breakthrough. And a common theme that I work on with my students, with my clients, is that if they get to a point where they're resisting the work that we're doing in the program around lead generation and resistance breakthroughs and creating amazing, powerful money manifesting results, if they're resisting something that we're doing in the program, what I teach and what my coaches teach is that you're not actually resisting the thing in the program. You're not actually resisting the program. What's actually happening is you're hitting an old familiar ceiling. And your ego is freaking out and it's fighting for survival, because that's much more familiar and much more comfortable than all of the things that you want, which live in the unknown, outside the box. And so to get outside the box results, to get something new that you've never had before, like an experience or a result, you're going to have to be and do something new that you've never done before. And the ego hates that and fights for survival around it. And it will tell you and try to convince you in a very compelling way that you need to remove the thing that's causing the change in your life. And so, like, one of the hardest things that we do as coaches is standing in the fire for people and lovingly show them what the block actually is versus what they think it is, right? And so this is really important for you to hear, because, like, if you think the relationship is what's causing you to be unhappy in your life, it's probably not the relationship. It's probably something inside of you that's causing a ceiling. If you think that the program that you're in doesn't work and it's causing X, Y, or Z problem in your life, it's actually probably not that. It's probably that you're up against a barrier that you've never experienced before. Maybe you have, and now you have a choice to go back into the old familiar comfort zone, or to break through into the unknown and to thus give yourself an opportunity to have a whole new result that you've never had before. I know I'm being really honest and blunt and real with you, but I think those of you that are on are obviously 100% responsible, causing this type of energy from me, and I'm happy to deliver it. This is just truth, you guys. This is just truth. Okay. So now that we've gone through what not to do when the shit hits the fan, here's what to do. These are the 3 tools that I use. Are you ready? Hearts and likes if you're ready. Give me a 3 in the comments if you're ready, if you're watching live or on the replay, for the 3 things I do that I always, there's that word, I don't even mean to use it. See how embedded it is in our language? The 3 tools that I very frequently, almost 100% of the time, use when shit is hitting the fan. Are you ready for this? Are you excited? Give me a 3 in the box. Give me some hearts and likes if you're ready for this. Okay. The 3 tools are, I'm going to say what they are and then I'm going to explain them. The 3 tools are yoga, something called emotional cultivation, and then the 4th is aligned action. So the first tool is yoga, and the reason for that is because, just like Albert Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that you had when it got created. Yoga is one of the best ways, and it's been used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years over the ages, to create transformational consciousness shifts in people. There's even a Sanskrit word for the word enlightenment, which is where you're vibrating at 1,000, top of the scale. It's samadhi. And that's where you're at the highest level of consciousness, the highest level of enlightenment. And people achieve that through yoga. And so you can raise your vibration doing a yoga practice. And it's one of the key tools that I use in my life and that I give my clients, so that they can shift, so that they can access a new consciousness, so that they can solve problems that are coming up. So I can solve problems that are coming up. The second thing is emotional cultivation. Emotional cultivation is the tool that I use and that I give my clients to reprogram the energetic blueprint of your experience, of your reality. So what you're experiencing in your reality is simply a projection of the codes that you are embedding in your energetic field. And if you want to change what you're experiencing in your reality, you need to change the codes that are embedding in your field. And this tool that I teach, called emotional cultivation, is one of the best ways to do that. The problem with it is that it's really hard to do effectively if you don't feel good in your body. And again, that's where the yoga comes in, because it helps you feel good in your body. The final and third part of the formula and the tools that I use is called aligned action. And the reason why this is important is because, while yes, there are some people on the planet who can literally manifest things with their minds, the majority of us mortals need to take some kind of action, like writing an email or getting on the phone with someone or sending a text or hosting an event or a workshop or that sort of thing. And the reason is because we need to give God, the universe, opportunities to provide. And those are called what I call avenues of abundance. And so the action that you take, of course, needs to be aligned. It needs to be aligned with what you've programmed into your energetic blueprint. It needs to feel good in your body. And I know you know what I mean when I say sometimes when you take actions, they don't feel good in your body. And so everything needs to be aligned in that way, and then you can take action. This is one of the reasons why, like in Maya, in my program, Money Alignment Yoga Academy, my clients aren't necessarily the best copywriters. They're not necessarily the best online marketers. And yet they can, like their email sequences that they use in their businesses typically enroll at an 80% conversion rate to high ticket sales. So I'm just getting business coaching on you for a second. The reason for that is because they're aligned. They've effectively programmed their energetic blueprints, and they're feeling great and aligned in their body energy, so that then when they go write the emails and get on the phone, even if they're not the best at sales, even if they're not the best online marketers, they have amazing results. I don't want to say it's a typical result because I can't really legally say that, but it's not uncommon. It's also the method that we use to help people break through resistance. So let me just reframe this for you. I've seen people, like I just said, who don't necessarily have the best strategy have incredible results because they're aligned. And I've seen the reverse. I've seen people with proven strategy have abysmal results because 66% of the formula is out of alignment. And I've experienced this in my own life. In fact, again, if the shit is hitting the fan and things are not working, I check in. I almost said always. I check in and I say, okay, which of the 3 pillars of manifestation is not happening in my life right now? And I'll tell you very honestly, I recently did a story about this. It's posted on my highlights in my personal Facebook page. I really resist meditation sometimes. I really, really do. I even resist yoga sometimes because my ego is influencing me, and it knows that if I do the meditation, if I do the emotional cultivation, if I do the yoga practice, I am going to expand. I am going to transform my consciousness. And the ego doesn't want that because the ego wants to keep you in the familiar. And so I really resist those things. And sometimes I get into the default of letting myself get enrolled in the busyness of the action. I can do action all day long. Easy, no problem, right? Maybe some of you can relate with this. Hearts and likes if you can relate with that. And so I have to check in and I say, which of the 3 pillars? Haven't practiced yoga in a couple of weeks. Haven't done emotional cultivation in a month. No wonder my results suck. No wonder shit's hitting the fan. And then I shift. I do my yoga. I do my emotional cultivation. And it's not uncommon for me to then turn around, receive unexpected inflows of money, pay in full clients, emails start converting again. I'll even source results for my clients when I shift like that. All of a sudden my clients start to have breakthrough popping and getting amazing results because I shifted, and of course I'm source. So those are the 3 tools, and it works every time without fail. When things get hard in my life, when I'm feeling like I'm going into that reactivity mode, or if I'm feeling off, or if I'm feeling like something's just really not working, I almost just did it again. I turn to the 3 tools. I turn to the 3 pillars, and they never, I'm going to say this very intentionally now, they never fail me. They are my rock solid anchor, my foundation. It's like they're the one thing that I can guarantee to myself. They're the one thing that I can guarantee to you that will create a shift if you do them. Not if you don't do them, but if you do them, they create a shift. It's one of the only things in the world I feel 100% confident around. Okay? So it's one of the reasons why I can bet on myself. You know what I mean? I can invest in myself. I know I can count on myself because I've got these 3 tools, and I know they work consistently. So I was thinking, what can I give you guys off of this conversation? Because I'd like to leave you with something tangible. And what I want to give you is my 7-day Chakra Opening Yoga Challenge for free. So I usually sell it for $77, but if you watch it today or over the next few days, I'm happy to just give it to you. So what I just need you to do is comment below and say, yes, Julie, I want the 7-day Chakra Opening Yoga Challenge, because it's a yoga practice that's got the yoga, the emotional cultivation, and the aligned action all built in. It's got all 3 It's like a micro level of support. It's what I can give you for free. I mean, obviously there's higher levels of support with intensives and Maya and stuff like that. But if you want something for free, this is something I want to give you. And so all you need to do is comment below and say, yes, Julie, I want it. And then I'll send you a message and get your email so that, or maybe I can even link it below. Yeah, I'll send you a link. So comment below, say that you want it, and then I'll comment with the link to make sure that you can access it. How's that sound? Sound good? Hearts and likes? Is that pretty exciting? All right. Well, so as some of you may know, Tuesdays are my fasting days. So it's been about 24 hours or so since I've eaten, which I'm very grateful for because fasting days bring me closer to God. You know, I don't really talk about fasting that much because in the Bible it says not to when you're doing it for spiritual reasons, which is a big part of why I do it, as well as health reasons. But if you're curious to know more about fasting, I'm happy to talk about it more, and maybe just drop a comment if you're interested to learn more about that as well. I do it twice a week. Anyway, so that's it for Dharma Talk Tuesday today. I hope it made a difference for you. Hit the share button if you think that there's someone else in your world who could benefit. Comment below, tagging your friends if there's someone specific that you want to watch this or to hear this. And I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you next week for Dharma Talk Tuesday.